starting off with the flamethrower, how refreshing has it been, Lyle, to watch Andres Munoz this spring coming off a season where he was good. He still had a sub-3 ERA. He had good FIP. He had good strikeout rate. His walk rate was a little high. But overall, watching Andres Munoz last season, it was clear as day that he was not in the same place as he was in 2022 when he was one of the best, if not the best, reliever in the American League. I feel like this is a season now where Andres Munoz can get back to that level coming up here in 2024.
I think the number one reason for that may be health. Think about last year. The guy had foot surgery in the offseason. He basically didn't throw much in spring training last year because he had a lot of recovery time from that. Then pretty early on in April, he got injured and was out till mid-June. So he didn't have a lot of time to have his usual throwing program and get into the swing of things. And as a result, again, like, this is all in context, right? Even last year, Munoz was still one of the best relievers in baseball, but maybe instead of being in the top 5, he was more in the top 12. But now being healthy this year at spring training, full off season, everything, you can tell what the difference is. And the main thing you can tell the difference of is how sharp that slider looks again, which, again, I think all comes back to health and being able to be on the field all winter and all spring.
Think of the difference between his last 2 off seasons. So the last off season where he had foot surgery was after the playoff run in 2022. He got foot surgery, and like you said, he couldn't throw. He couldn't really work out as much as he wanted to. And then he gets into spring training, deals with injuries, doesn't really get up to full speed until June. Well, this offseason, he said he took like a week off. That's it. And then he went back to his hometown in Mexico and just started running. He ran a lot. I think his family is a bunch of track athletes, and he goes out there and he just runs a lot, and he stays in good shape, and he continues to throw and continues to work out. And he said, I feel amazing. Like, I feel great. And it's apparent. This dude in February was dialing 101 on his fastball. In February, like barely into spring, was up to almost full speed on his fastball. And all the signs that we've seen here in spring have just been dominant. It's been dominant. The biggest difference between his 2022 season and his 2023 season, I think, comes down to the location of his slider. Do you look at his spray charts at all in Baseball Savant?
I know that, like, if you're talking about like pitch by pitch and the value of it, or are you talking about the bubbles? Like, which part of Baseball Savant?
No, the spray charts, the heat maps for his pitches and location.
Probably not as closely as you did. I mean, you clearly have something to say about it, so go ahead.
It stands out. When we're done recording, I want you to go to Baseball Savant, and I want you to take a look at those heat maps. His 2022 heat map, I mean, it is the hard red, like the deep red, which is high frequency of the slider. It's in the lower outside corner to right-hand hitters, and it is almost a perfect circle. It looks like he has that spot dialed in to the maximum extent, whether it be into lefties, out to righties. He had it dialed in, and it was arguably the best slider in baseball outside of Edwin Diaz in 2022. It was amazing. Last year, that thing sprayed everywhere. He had a lot of trouble throwing that thing for a strike. Now, partially because he was not 100%, I don't think, during the season. I think he was still dealing with something during the season. But also, again, he couldn't really dial it in, and he didn't have a chance to dial it in during the offseason and really get right. So that led to that pitch taking an immense step back, and we saw what happened when he couldn't put away batters as effectively. And I say that as a guy who had nearly a 32% strikeout rate. Oh, he couldn't put away batters. He could. Not as efficiently as he did in 2022 when that slider was dialed in. He became less efficient last year, and it showed. With the walk rate allowed more opportunities, and overall, you could tell he was not quite as effective.
The walks is the big thing, like in the command for that matter. Munoz is going to be a great reliever no matter what, likely. But what can turn him into the 2022 Munoz versus more of the 2023 Munoz is the walks. Like, look at the difference between 22 and 23. In 22, he was basically in the top 20 percentile of the league in terms of walk rate. Like, he didn't really walk guys. Last year was a lot different. He was all the way down in about the 22nd percentile of the league. Like, that's a massive difference. You're talking over 50% difference in terms of your walk rate compared to the rest of the league year by year. So if he can get back to throwing a lot more strikes this year, I like that, and landing the slider, which is kind of all tied into one, can be the big difference of who Andres Munoz can be in 2024. I will say, if you want to look at a positive from last year, because he had issues with the slider, it forced him to throw that sinker a lot more. And you know what? That sinker did a lot for him last year. While the slider wasn't working, he found a second pitch to go with his fastball in the sinker. And it I don't want to say did wonders for him. Like, it wasn't like the best pitch in baseball or anything like that, but it was a very good pitch. Like, it helped him a lot last year, and it's a reason he still had a good year last year. Now, imagine healthy Andres Munoz with the slider returned, his 103-mile-an-hour fastball, and this sinker. That is a recipe for success.
The biggest thing out of the gate is when he couldn't throw a slider for a strike, he couldn't get hitters off of his fastball. And if there was a negative from his 2022 season, no matter how hard he threw his fastball was still pretty hittable by the numbers. But the sinker, with the ball running away from the barrel and the arm side direction, while he couldn't throw his slider as often for a strike when he wanted to, the sinker could go for a strike and go off the barrel and help mitigate the damage on that fastball. So if he's going to if he feels good about his slider and he starts throwing it back up to the percentage he did in 2022, I'm like, the sinker is fine. But if Andres Munoz can essentially just go replicate his 2022 season again, that would be great. Like, he honestly does not need to improve anything past that. If Andres Munoz has 10 seasons, like his 2022 season, this dude might go to the Hall of Fame. So
yes,
go back, like, find a way to get back to the 2022 version of Andres Munoz. If that means, hey, I might tune the sinker down to about 10% of the time, and the slider's going back from the mid 50s% of throwing it back up to 65%, because it's the best pitch, I'm going to throw it the most. So I think that's what I'm looking for, is like the usage of that slider is going to tell us a lot of how he feels about that pitch and how he feels about locating it and how effective it's going to be. Because he's going to have to be, right out the gate here, he is going to be leaned on as the clear-cut one. Mm-hmm. Not, on a night there could be a Brash or there could be a Justin Topa to put out the fire at the end of the game. No, it's going to be Andres Munoz, who's the guy to close things out at the beginning of the season. There's going to be a little bit of pressure there in April.
I agree. And we keep talking about it. April is going to be key for the Mariners. Getting off to a hot start is important in the bullpen, which is going to be a little bit shorthanded to start the year. They're going to need Munoz a lot.